Oh. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's awful nice of you. So this is a tough topic. Let's face it. What we just saw was a little tough to see. When you see firsthand what this disease can do, it's very impactful. My mother had dementia. My grandmother, dementia, Alzheimer's. My wife's uncle, aunt, grandmother. So in my family, we've dealt with it a while. And what I know now, I wish I knew back when my mom was dealing with it. It would have better prepared me. So that's kind of why I'm here. I thought about that a little bit. And I said, you know, we have to do a better job of preparing ourselves for this because it's impactful. And you're going to see with some of the stats we put up there how quickly this is growing. So my job here today is to really help prepare you, make you aware of certain things that you can do and those types of things. So hopefully you'll get something out of this at the end. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to step back and reintroduce myself to you. It better sets up this topic. So please allow me to do that. I am a thief. I'm a thief who captures your memories by breaking down your memories built throughout a lifetime. I'm a thief who detaches you from familiar, leaving you lifeless. I not only steal your memories, I steal your loved ones, your friends, your employees, your emotions, your health, and I steal your money. I'm also a plagiarizer who destroys your identity, preventing you from discerning your comb from your car keys. I make you question if you ate breakfast in the morning, and I will most certainly nullify that judgment. There are no survivors to welcome my disease. There are no survivors pleading Congress to fund my disease, although I kill about 5 times as many people. The government funds my disease at 1/5 that of AIDS, and yet I kill 5 times as many people. You cannot discard me. I will bankrupt healthcare. I am Alzheimer's. Every 67 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. That's about a little over 1,200 per day, 9,000 a week, almost 40,000 per month, and over 470,000 per year. And by 2050, every 33 seconds, someone will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So let me just go through the agenda. What we're going to talk about is Alzheimer's. I'm going to help you understand, hopefully, a little bit more about the disease, the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease, spend some time with the facts and figures so you know how impactful this could be, and most importantly, kind of the planning process, trying to help you through things you can do and help educate you there. The best way that I've found to really introduce what Alzheimer's disease and what this disease does to your brain is with a short video. It's about 3 minutes, but it does a really good job of kind of laying out what's going on. So hopefully this will help you, and then we'll talk a little bit about it when it's done here. So it should be loud enough. Hopefully you'll...
What is Alzheimer's?
Helpful? A little bit in understanding it? This is a better definition of it. Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative disorder of the brain that causes a gradual loss of brain cells leading to cognitive impairment, uncharacteristic behavior, poor judgment, ultimately death. That's a definition for Alzheimer's right out of their site. The video, I wish I would have had that to kind of walk my dad through what was going on in my mom's head. Because as you probably remember, and I can remember with my grandma, they thought she was crazy. That's how we kind of looked at this. It was a stigmatism. No, she just lost her mind. Well, she did, but there was a reason. You saw the tangles and the plaques and the way they attach and how that happens and how that progression goes. That progression is different, though. No two people experience it the same way. there's a progression that it went through, but it can go different ways. With my mom, it was very sudden, very late in her stage where she developed it. And I think it was actually triggered from a surgery that she had. Now, there's not any evidence out there that that is it, but there's some talk that there are triggering events that happen that start to funnel this plaque and these tangles to start to develop. And so with my mom, she had a surgery, and she was under anesthesia for a real long time, and there were some complications, so she was way long under anesthesia. And they were saying there were some studies that that could have been maybe a triggering event. Because I know from that time, going back and thinking about it, she definitely started to slide a little bit there. And the challenge with my dad and one of my brothers, I have 3 brothers and a sister, 2 older brothers, a younger sister and a younger brother. My one brother, he just wouldn't accept that she couldn't remember certain things. And it wasn't easy to try to explain to him, because I really didn't know what was going on. Had I had this video to take him through to say, this isn't something she did. This is what's happening. It would have been easier, a little less painful. So when you think about Alzheimer's, to kind of talk about the differences between Alzheimer's and dementia, think of dementia as this umbrella. And under this umbrella are the dementias. And they are Alzheimer's, Lewy body disease, Parkinson's disease. There's 70+ different dementias. It's just Alzheimer's is the one that's really growing. Okay? So when you think about what's going on in the brain, though, and how to kind of think about the differentiation, my meeting today was at 11:30. And I'm driving around in my car, and it's 2 o'clock, and I suddenly remember, gosh, I was supposed to be here at 11:30. That's a dementia. I mean, we all have times where we forget things, but the biggest difference is that an Alzheimer patient cannot go back and retrieve that. So think about this, my daughters, all right? My youngest daughter always loses her phone. They're always losing something. So she loses her phone, she comes in, she's panicking. I can't find my phone, I don't know where it is, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. So I can take her back, and I said, well, let's back up, all right? Where were you? Well, I was in my room, and I just don't. What were you wearing? And then I back up because, well, they don't wear anything, so especially mine. So it wasn't in her pocket because she has nothing on, just about. So I had to go right past that, but she and I'm not kidding, she doesn't wear anything. Oh my God. But that's not a good visual for me anymore. But I can take her back, and she can go through it and say, oh yeah, that's right, I left it in a cab. Oh, that's great. You know where it is, though. But she could go back, retrieve it, and then bring it back. An Alzheimer's patient doesn't have that ability anymore. It's gone away. So as far as impact, how many people in this room have somebody that they know or met or friend or whatever, or personal experience with Alzheimer's disease or a dementia? Happens every time I do this. I don't care if there's 5, 10, 20. It's here. And we got to be prepared. So let's look at some of the warning signs. Now, what I brought with me is a one-piece page that summarizes kind of what we're talking about today. And what I want to spend time on a little bit is these 10 warning signs. These aren't my 10 warning signs. These are the 10 warning signs from the Alzheimer's Association. There's a local chapter here over in Eden Prairie. I've spent time there. I wish I spent time there before I knew what was going to happen. But it is a great source for people that are suffering with this disease. But the 10 warning signs, we post those because that's what we have to kind of think about. I go around and I talk to financial advisors because they're in a position to help you should this disease impact you and your family. They are able to, not only as a wealth manager, build your financial future for for your retirement, but can also help and put in place certain products that will help you in the financial cost of this disease. So I spend a lot of time in groups like this with financial advisors trying to prepare them. So you're a step ahead because this particular financial advisor is way out in front of it. by already thinking this through and preparing and having some opportunity to help you with the planning process here. So the first warning sign here, memory changes disrupting daily life. Some of these are pretty self-explanatory, and we did put some definitions in there to kind of trigger it, and this is more geared towards, a financial advisor and a client coming in and not remembering specific trades that they might have done or talking about a trade that they did. And it could be everyday occurrences. My mom was pretty strict about the process of making my dad his breakfast in the morning. God bless her. And then she started forgetting to make that breakfast, and my dad's approach to her was, where's my breakfast? And my mom's like, well, I'll make it. But she forgot that she was supposed to make it. Little things like that she wasn't picking up, and he was starting to see some of those things. But they're things that disrupt your life. I mean, my brother, the same one that was challenged with why she was having trouble with memory, used to pick my mom up for lunch as she was getting older, kind of doing his thing once a week. And she was always there and ready to go. And then there was one time that she wasn't there. And he was wondering why. He goes in, and Mom, you going to lunch today? I just called you 20 minutes ago. And she had no idea. So it was a very impactful warning sign that we just didn't know about. We should have probably went to the next level of having some dialogue with her, or maybe bringing her in front of a physician to talk a little bit more about it. But we didn't get there. And it got my brother mad. And I wasn't in a position where I could tell him, listen, this is what's going on. It just got him mad. And then he would, lash out, if you will, at my mom, not knowing that she didn't know they were supposed to go. So she started to withdraw, and that can happen, as you'll see. Challenges in planning and solving problems. I think about this one from the standpoint of, I remember my oldest brother, who was the power of attorney, and we started looking at some of my mom's personal effects and so forth, and checkbook, and kind of looking at that. And we noticed a bunch of checks that were being written to these telemarketers that call all the time. They don't call as much anymore, but they call. And she's a nice lady. So she takes a call. Yeah, that sounds great. So she writes them a check. And we found all these checks that were written to all these telemarketers, and showing them to my mom, and she didn't remember writing one of them. It was tough. It was really tough. Pretty dramatic warning sign that something was going on here. She didn't know that. So we had to take that checkbook away and take over that financial responsibility. How fun is that? To go into your parents and say, let me take a look at your finances. In our generation, that's not easy. My dad, no, you're not going to. I wish I did. I should have forced him. Because we would have been in a better place, because there was a lot of hidden things in there that we just didn't know about. So it's about preparing and seeing that. I just wish and how about taking keys away? Oh my gosh. Oh my God. I had to, with my dad, when it was time to take his keys away, I've never seen him fight so hard. He said, there's no way. I said, all right, well, let me paint this scenario for you. We come in town. My daughter decides to drive up to come see you. At the same time, you decide to go down to the market to get some milk. And guess whose car you hit? Hers. He handed me his keys. We never had a conversation again. I said, it's not about you, Dad. It's about what you do. And that was it. But it's tough. Very tough. Difficulty completing familiar tasks. With that one, we talked about the checkbook. My mom had some difficulties with recipes, getting ready for the day, getting up, and just not being able to figure out, well, what am I supposed to wear today? How do I get ready? And just different little things like that, that are, again, warning signs. Confusion about time and place, not knowing what time it is of the day. I had a financial advisor speak with me after a presentation, had a client that came in to his office for his financial review. It's the middle of the winter. The guy's dressed in golf clothes, shorts and a t-shirt. Now, this is Minnesota, and I know we wear shorts into December. However, there was no chance he was playing golf anywhere in Minnesota. but he was dressed to play. So they went through, actually they started in the review, and then he finally just stopped and asked him, he says, "Why are you dressed in golf clothes?" He says, "Well, I'm going to play with my buddies this afternoon." Wow. Happened that fast. So obviously that financial advisor was in a better place to help, direct him to different things. Trouble, visual spatial images. This one's pretty impactful as well. My dear friend, Jack Broyles, who is part of my inspiration for going around and speaking on behalf of this topic, his dad wrote this book. This book is used by the American Alzheimer's Association. It is a playbook. Jack Broyles travels around the country doing presentations like this, and actually is one of our contacts that goes out and does larger events and so forth throughout the country. But his dad, Frank Broyles, was the legendary football coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and their mom, his wife, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So his approach to keeping their mother at home and his wife at home was to approach it like he does at football. I'm going to write a playbook. And that's what they did. They kept, her name was Betsy, they kept her home for, it was 6 years, and they kept her home, and from this playbook is how they took care of her. And it is a phenomenal little book. And if this is something that you think is worthwhile and that would help you, contact your group here, whatever advisor you have, and maybe we can get you a copy of this. Not maybe, we will get you a copy of this, and this will help you. If you got a dear friend of yours, you can get these online or whatever, but I'd be happy to supply it. It's a great roadmap. But inside this book, and from presentations that Jack has done around the country, he shares a lot of those about what he went through with his mom. And one of the ones that sticks with me forever is this warning sign of visual troubles. So imagine this. He gets a call late at night. Jackie, come on over. There's somebody in the house. I don't know who it is, but I'm scared. You need to get over here right away. And Jack's working. Okay, Mom, I'm on my way. Gets there, and they start walking around the house, and Jack says, Mom, show me. They walk out into the living room, and she looks in the mirror and says, I don't know who that is, and I'm scared. And that really caught him off guard. Then they walk into another room, same thing. I don't know who that is. And they took every mirror down, and except for the one in the bathroom, and they had to walk her into the bathroom and reintroduce herself. And I had a financial advisor in a group that I spoke with, and this particular patient, she liked seeing those other people. She would walk around the house and have a conversation with each one of them. So it was fine. It was fine for her. So it's different for everybody. She'd walk in, she'd just have a conversation. There's a video that I saw on HBO as a 5-hour segment that talks about Alzheimer's disease, and it shows a patient in a room and sitting down at on a little table in the mirror there, and just having a pleasant conversation with herself. The other one never answers, but she's talking the whole time. And you know what? She's smiling and happy. And that's how you have to think about it. I mean, what we went through with my mom, and it progressed really quickly, and I'm thankful for that. We had 6 months, but I'm thankful that it was only 6 months. It could have been 6 years. But there were times when you just have to laugh. It's okay. I mean, during the latter stages, my mom had a walker, and she'd eventually find her way down to have something to eat. But on the way back, there's a hallway down to her room. Every room she went in and took something. Every single room, because she thought it was hers. She'd get back, and my mom or my sister, who was staying with her, would go through the basket. Within 30 seconds of her coming in, they'd start pulling out stuff of the basket and say, Mom, where'd you get this? No idea. No clue. But they had a lot of fun doing it. And my mom was smiling and laughing, and that's how you have to approach it. Because they just can't remember. So that's a tough one. The visual thing, not being able to see traffic light colors anymore. That's one as well. Problems with words and speech, not being able to say the words, think of the words, coming out with ages. My mom thought she was 60, she was 80. Well, I'm not 80, I'm 60. Okay. And I wish I would have been able and been more prepared to say, you're right, you're 60, Mom, and you're beautiful. Instead of saying, no, you're 80. I should have I'd do it now. Misplacing items, losing the ability to backtrack. We talked a little bit about that. Decreased or poor judgment, it kind of ties into all of them. Withdrawal from work and social activities, this is way in the latter stages. And then lastly here on 10, changes in mood and personality. I think about this one, this last particular one. And by the way, 1 through 4, probably 8, an Alzheimer's patient could show those signs without ever being diagnosed. So some of this can be going on before that diagnosis actually happens. So changes in mood and personalities. My mom, of course, she was my mom, so she was the sweetest lady ever. Right? So during the latter stages, when they were coming in to try to make her comfortable and so forth, she was maybe 80 pounds soaking wet and never said a curse. I'd never heard her ever curse or raise her voice, and for that matter, I wasn't allowed to either. I grew up in a little Catholic community, and I can remember being out running around the yard and maybe slipped out a curse or two, and the next thing I know, I feel this tug on my ear, and I'm marched inside the house, and I've got a bar of soap down my mouth. So I never cursed. So we're sitting there, my brother and I, and they come in to take care of my mom, and she takes a swing at this doctor. I mean, she's soaking wet, 80 pounds. Takes a swing, starts laughing. I couldn't believe some of the stuff she was saying. She was ripping him, cursing and screaming and punching and kicking. She had no idea. And my brother and I were sitting there, oh my gosh. It was tough. It was tough to see. But you know what? We smiled and we had to laugh about it. Because you do. She didn't know. She didn't know. So, knowing, understanding, identifying, thinking a little bit more about some of those warning signs. I forget a lot of things. We all do. That is okay. It's when you can't remember certain things, that you should be able to remember. Think about it through that way, because this is a little bit about the facts and figures and how big this disease is growing. So more than 5 million Americans are living with the disease today. The number of people aged 65 and older with Alzheimer's is estimated to reach about 7 million by 2025. And it says here that it's the 6th leading cause of death. Actually, it's probably closer to the second or third leading cause of death. And that is because, with my mom even, at the real latter stages, she had pneumonia and really probably died from that. But she had dementia. I mean, that's what, and so they've recalculated a little bit of this and talking about that this is a much bigger cause of death than first anticipated. And 1 in 3 seniors dies of Alzheimer's or some form of dementia, and age, of course, is the risk factor. But the statistics that we're starting to see grow the most is this 1 in 9 Americans 65 and over that have Alzheimer's right now. And we are in the, I'm a baby boomer. The baby boomer population is hitting, and that is every day 10,000 people are turning 65. 1 in 9 are diagnosed with this disease. It is coming with a vengeance, and we got to get out in front of it. Now, there's a lot going on. There's not a lot of funding, as I referenced, but there's a lot going on trying, and I've seen some really exciting things that they're starting to do. So we're going to get out in front of this at some point, but it's about being prepared, and I'm going to just share a couple things here. A person doesn't really get Alzheimer's, a family really does. The caregiving part of this is horrible. It's tough. My daughter, God bless her, and she's my daughter, so it's great, but she's got a tough gig. And she goes to work with a smile and comes home with a smile, but has some really tough days from time to time. But you know what? She learned a lot from seeing what we went through with my family, and it's kind of her way of giving back, getting some experience before she goes out and gets whatever nursing job she's going to get. But the caregiver impact is really, really tough. It was really tough on my sister. 76% of these Alzheimer's patients are cared for in the home setting, which is really tough. Family caregiving is provided by about 15 million Americans, and more than 1 in 7 of those workers are active or former caregivers for someone with Alzheimer's, and among those, about 47% were able to continue to work while they cared for them. But that's the challenge is, suddenly, you have to take over that responsibility of caregiving, and now you're down to one income or whatever it may be. It's a very expensive proposition. 32% of unpaid caregivers provide care on average 5 years or longer, so it's a long haul. So think about that time period of caregiving. I know with Jack it was 6 years. For me, it was 6 months. But it was still very impactful financially. And here's why. So adult daycare service on average is about $70 a day. Home care service, having someone come in, the national average is about $20 an hour. Assisted living, on average $3,500. Now my mom was on the East Coast. Prices are a little higher. And I bore the responsibility of paying that. And it was a lot higher than that, and I had no problem with it. Well, I did, but it was my job. And I had the better end of that deal. So all my family's back east, and I'm out here in Minnesota. They have the emotional daily contact with what was going on with my mom. I didn't, other than my everyday phone calls. And I bore the financial responsibility because we were not prepared. And I thought I knew what I was doing. And I had a lot of money set aside for something. And I thought they had a lot of money set aside until we dug into the finances and realized some of these checks my mom was writing and some of these pieces of the mail that would show up and say, all you got to do is sign here and we'll give you $20,000. Somebody with dementia thinks they got $20,000 and goes and spends it. So it was a lot of debt that we incurred that we didn't know about. So all that preparedness I did in the event that we put my mom in a place wasn't any money. So that's where I came in. And I was happy to do it, and I had no problem. We're going to do it. It's Mom, I'm taking care of her. But again, my family had to bear the emotional side of that. I feel like I got the better deal, and it was tough. 6 months, and it was a lot more than $3,500. So think about that. Private room, almost $8,000, a semi-private room. It's really, really expensive. So when I think this through in my business, who is in a better position to help you potentially prepare in the event that something happens? Well, the guy who's managing my wealth, building a portfolio. They got tools, they got ways to do it, life insurance, whatever it may be, they can help you in the planning process to get out in front of the impact that this disease is going to have and is already having. Now, planning considerations also for you is this, providing permission for that advisor to speak and work with others, your attorney, your CPAs, or whoever it may be that help you with the managing of your wealth, making sure you have the financial and medical power of attorney all signed and all those different documents, establishing a secondary and emergency contact person, and talking to your advisor about some of these long-term care insurance alternatives, and developing what we like to call a shadow plan. That's part of what we should be doing. I know personally how much this impacted me financially. I'm not going to let this happen to my daughters. So on my several trips back and forth to New Jersey, sitting on a plane for 2.5 hours, you think a lot. And so I thought, well, how can I better prepare myself? I'm in this business, but I need to do some things. How many people have a password to? Thousands of them. How many passwords? You got so many passwords. How do you keep track of them? All that kind of stuff. So I started thinking to myself, here I am flying in a plane. I've got my iPad, I've got my iPhone, I've got my laptop, and I've got my personal documents with me, and something happens. How do my daughters get access to all that stuff? How do they know what to do? And it scared me. Well, they know how now. And it was a much easier conversation than I would have had with my parents. But I sat them down. I said, listen, girls, here's the deal. You need to know where the stuff is. And he said, well, Dad, I got to go. I got to put on another, well, I have to put less clothes on and get out for the night. Well, you're going to sit and listen to this. And they were fine with it. I said, here's a master password, and I put it into a sentence that they could remember all the time, and I made them go in and look at bank statements and different things until, so they were comfortable. I got it, Dad. Okay, we'll see you. Bye. Now they know where it all is. It's done. It had to be an event, though, that got me thinking that way, sadly. but at least it did. So my parents helped me. I got it done. So it's a tough thing. So get a shadow plan. What's great about this is locally here you have a phenomenal chapter. Anybody ever been over there? Visit? It's right over in Eden Prairie. You have? Good experience? Yeah, they do a really good job. Just really good job. I did a care consultation. That is a full family event where they'll walk you through what is going on, what's about to happen, what you need to do, how you need to do it, how do you need to prepare for it. In many cases, the website can give you links to different and more information about what's going on here because honestly, I'm not an expert in this. I've had some personal experience and I'm in a position where I can go around and try to prepare financial advisors for the inevitable call that I think will come down the road where you go in to ask them, hey, listen, my mom, my dad, or whatever has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I want to know what you know about this disease and how you can help me. So I want to prepare them to do that. And that's what I do because they need to be. But there's some great resources here. We're lucky we have a great chapter here and they can be incredibly helpful in putting together a plan and helping you with that. So I would recommend that as far as planning considerations. And this one's hard to see, I'm sorry, but things you can do with budgeting and so forth. The disease is progressive, so you want to be out in front of it. You could start with maybe daycare and so forth, but it's going to progress and you're going to probably have to go to the next level. So I'm just going to kind of quickly summarize a little bit here. I'm going to leave some time for a couple of questions, whatever if you have, but I think it's important to really kind of know and understand these warning signs. Again, these warning signs were pulled directly from the Alzheimer's website, the national one. So no one understands those. Who can make some of those investments decisions when you sit down with a financial advisor? Who else? Including advocates in those meetings as soon as possible, bringing along siblings or whoever it might be. Providing that advisor with other interested parties that give you permission to speak and so forth. And having copies of all these legal documents and providing copies to trusted parties. I know going through that process, even myself, my power of attorney, my living will, my if something really happens to me, the next level, what I want them to do and all that, getting that all together in one place and being proactive with that is obviously going to help you and your family and so forth. So these are just some quick next steps here. Starting this conversation. If you have a financial advisor or somebody that's helping you with the management of your wealth and you think you kind of think about some of these things, it's good to start this conversation. Get in and kind of see what else you may need or how you can build this a little bit better. And develop a written plan. Again, it's something I did. I sat down and I kind of went through in my mind what I could do to better help my family in the event that something happened to myself or my wife, and really being diligent at it. And then, again, organizing those financial and legal and medical documents, sitting down with your advisor. You're lucky. I'll tell you this is nice of the Summit Group to offer this out to you. I certainly hope you got something out of it. This is an important topic. It's important to me. I have an opportunity to visit with financial advisors. It's the most well-attended presentation I do because people are starting to think about it. And the better prepared we are for this, the easier it will also be on it. So I thank you for that. The last thing I'll show you here is my mom and dad, and this is at their 50th wedding anniversary. They were married for 60 years, and this wedding was ridiculous. A lot of their friends showed up, and it was like, these dances that they did, and all the fun, and I don't know how they made it through the night. It was crazy, but it was super fun. And I show it because it makes me happy, and it's important that I do my job in trying to help people prepare for this. So with that, I'm going to kind of shut it down, but I'm going to say this. Hopefully you know a little bit more about the disease and the differences a little bit between Alzheimer's and dementia. You kind of get it a little bit with these 10 warning signs. Was it helpful to kind of go through that a little bit? And then it really comes down to, am I properly planning in the event that something happens to me, my wife, my spouse, my parents? If I've done that, then I feel like maybe my work is done here today. With that, is there any questions?